Modernism is a philosophical movement that, along with cultural trends and changes, arose from wide-scale and far-reaching transformation in Western society in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Ludwig Mies van der Rohe believes that less is more and elegance is found in simplicity. His ideas embody the definition of modern architecture. In 1958, van der Rohe built the Seagram building in New York City. The building expresses structure in a tectonic way. He believed that this was more important than the use of ornament. The simplistic look became a basic template for most skyscrapers around the world. It embraces minimalistic geometry rather than complex detail. Like Ludwig van der Rohe, Adolf Loos believes that less is more. He states in Ornament and Crime that all art is erotic. He believes since the first artist created the first drawing or the first symbol, the cross, it is erotic. Loos states that the man of our time who dabs the walls with erotic symbols to satisfy an inner urge is a criminal. This means that when the urge overcomes man, it no longer is art. He also states that the evolution of culture is synonymous with the removal of ornament from objects of daily use. He introduces this idea to the world, but it isn't welcomed. This is evident when he presents his design for the Loos House in Vienna. He was criticized for the building's lack of detail. It was plain, white, and undercoated. Le Corbusier focuses on the engineer's aesthetic in architecture. He uses replicas of ocean liners, airplanes, and automobiles as models for architecture. In Towards an Architecture, he states a house is a machine for living in. One famous house of the modern movement in architecture is Le Corbusier's Villa Savoye. It's an example of how to create a house as a machine for living in. It expresses the modern concept that form can follow function successfully. Corbusier's ability to use line and geometry to establish order and design is represented in the simple exterior of the house. Le Corbusier also strongly believed in the engineer's approach and believes architects are being unhelpful and unable to produce modern architecture. If engineers are healthy, virile, active, and useful to society, architects are by contrast disillusioned, unemployed, boastful, and peevish. Architects have been asleep. Another point that Corbusier makes in his piece Towards a New Architecture is that he believes houses should be mass-produced in the same way that cars might be. In Collage City, Rohe states the disintegration of modern architecture seems to call for a strategy, an enlightened pluralism, and possibly even common sense. Post-war utopian city planning had many problems, the biggest issue being the segregation of the city. These problems came from the tyranny of the majority known as naive idealism. However, modern architecture has allowed science to build the city. There are only two reservoirs of ethical content available for our use: tradition and utopia. Collage City rejects the traditional ideas but maintains an understood connection to traditional body of attitudes and procedures. The collage technique insists on a balancing act. It is the only way of dealing with the ultimate problems of both utopia and tradition. Collage accommodates both hybrid display and the requirements of self-determination. Modern architecture died in St. Louis, Missouri on July 15, 1972, at approximately 3:32 p.m. At this time, the Preux-Igot scheme was struck by dynamite and fell to shambles. The structure in its time had been vandalized and defaced, and while millions were spent in the efforts to restore it, the attempts were unsuccessful. Preux-Igot was constructed according to the ideals of the Congress of International Modern Architects and won an award from the American Institute of Architects when it was designed in 1951. This ruin became a great architectural symbol, and in its destruction came to represent the end of an era. Architecture would now undergo a shift from modernism to postmodernism. Postmodernism differs from modernism in its advanced technology, use of art and ornament, and it continues to influence architecture today. In the revolution to postmodernism, pop had a huge impact on architecture. In Learning from Pop by Denise Scott Brown and Robert Venturi, they discuss how aspects of pop culture such as TV commercials, billboards, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, and Route 66 cause many challenges in architecture. Architects now build based on needs. These include some income ranges, family composition, and lifestyles. The customers now desired spaces like those seen through mass media. Venturi and Scott Brown also wrote on ducts and decoration. Discussing the shift from modern architecture to postmodern architecture, this new step into postmodernism showed interest in communication through symbolism and mixed media. The new styles of buildings aimed to be expressive and not economical or convenient. The main idea was to add decorations to buildings, not make a building a decoration. Robert Venturi coins the idea that less is a bore, contradicting Van der Rohe. He states that good architecture must be complex. In his design of the Vanna Venturi house, the embellishments on the facade and use of varying windows demonstrates complexity. In architecture, Venturi's practices embody postmodernism ideals. In conclusion, we see how modernism and postmodernism both rely heavily on each other. While it was accepted that less was more, in a modern time the shift to a less is a bore mindset was crucial to the new world that was postmodernism. We believe that modernism was necessary as a precursor to postmodernism, and postmodernism has become more visually appealing. You must find the middle ground between simplicity and complexity. In other words, the union of modernism and postmodernism has the potential to start a revolution or a whole new world of architecture.